Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. The Gujarat Titans have won IPL 2022. They've won today's game by 7 wickets and a huge well done to them. I don't think or not many people would have expected them to finish even fifth, let alone first after 14 games and that to win the overall competition. They've only lost 4 games this season and I think that's the second lowest losses in an IPL season in the history of the competition. And I think it would have been a joint record on three had the Gujarat Titans not bottled one game against the Mumbai Indians. And yeah, I think the Rajasthan Royals in 2008 only lost three games when they won the competition, and this was another underdog story like that one was. And India, I think both the teams playing today had really good seasons, and any all the teams that qualified for the playoffs, I think it's nothing to be scoffed at, and it's the reason why for the first three reviews that I post and for the next one, I'll be talking more about positives than negatives. And for the Gujarat Titans, this season has been a huge positive for them. I mean, even when I was reviewing the squads of all the franchises after 2 days of the auction, I thought that the Titans would have a really precarious season and certainly not qualify because looking through their batting roster, the one thing I didn't feel would be there would be consistency. Even the player, the captain, for example, is returning back from injury, hasn't played cricket for a few months. And Shubman Gill and Hardik Pandya seem like the only two bankable players in the batting lineup. But if you actually look at how their batsmen have fared this season, three players have scored above 480 runs. Shubman Gill and Hardik Pandya, unsurprisingly, have been two of those. But I think arguably their player of the season, in my view, has been David Miller. 481 runs in 16 games. The reason why I'm saying that's because, looking at their bowlers, we all knew that they were going to be good in the bowling department. They have been. The likes of Mohammad Shami and Rashid Khan have been excellent. But the batting was something that needed some players to stand up outside of the main two who were Hardik Pandya and Shubman Gill. And if you're looking at those two contributions alone, I think they needed the other players to stand up. Yes, and the likes of Ridhaman Saha have done that. But if you're looking at what David Miller's provided, he's provided that kind of that finishing, more than finishing touch, you could say. 481 runs in 16 games, batting at number 5. And he's got 9 not outs. So he's finishing games off for you. And also, more often than not, he's kind of staying until the end to get the job done. He outright won 2 games for them, with about one against CSK. And another one was against the Rajasthan Royals in the qualifier 1. And even today, I think he scored 32 off 19 balls to make the job easier for the Titans to get over the line. So he's had an outstanding tournament this season, and for someone who's, even more than the 250s in 7 seasons stat, I think with the way that he's outright won 2 games by himself for the bat, you could say, and yes, he had help from Hardik Pandya in the 68 against the Rajasthan was in qualifier 1, but he still was the backbone of that win. And also, he scored these 30s a lot of the time to get the team to competitive totals, or kind of help the team chase down scores. For example, how he did in today's game. So, an outstanding season for David Miller, and in my view, he's given them that extra edge to go on and win games, and that's why, in my view, he's my player of the Titans player of the season. Hardik Pandya has been excellent, unsurprisingly, 487 runs in 15 games. And he had kind of more success with the bat at the start of the tournament, and it was important for the side, I think, to get that winning momentum. I think, look, as sportsmen or kind of any sports people do have that internal belief, and I don't think they would have been worried too much with kind of how things look for them. But it was so important to get those initial wins. As I still think that, look, if you're looking at this batting lineup and how the GT side performed at the auction, you could say the lineup still did look precarious, and in the end they found some positives all through the season with the players that they have, and that's the reason why in the end that precariousness didn't really show too often at all. And you've got 3 players who've scored above 480 runs. Saha, who's been excellent, and Tewati as well, especially at the start of the tournament, he was really good. So I think that with the batting, there have been consistent contributions from especially 3 players, and the other players have chipped in as well. And with the bowling, we all knew that they were going to be a really good bowling side. So I think that they've had a combination of really kind of clinical wins and also cases where it's taken a bit of magic to get them over the line. But in the end, a combination of the two would really bode well for the for any side, and that's the reason why coming into this game, even from my Rajasthan Royals season review, I wasn't surprised that GT have won this game. I just think with the belief that they would have had coming into this game, you just thought that in that they just had a bit more of a mental edge than the Rajasthan Royals. And on today's game, when the Royals batted first on a tough pitch, I thought if they get kind of a 140, 150 score at least, they could cause this lineup problems. And with the way the Titans started off in the second innings with the excellent bowling from the Rajasthan Royals, I think they were 24 for 2 in the first 5 overs. I think 35 for 2 in the first 7. And had Chahal caught the simple opportunity that Shubman Gill offered when he was on 0, then this could have been quite a bit harder for the Gujarat Titans to win. And again, this could have been quite difficult for them. But in the end, with the catch being dropped, Shubman Gill kind of anchored the innings, you could say. And that's the reason why the match-winning partnership of 63 between him and Hadik Pandya, the two kind of, you could say, the players that they've unsurprisingly relied on this season. And also David Miller showing how much of an asset he has been this season. It was a fitting kind of, it was kind of a fitting finish for the 3 most influential players with the bat this season for them. And in the end, they won this game. So a really good win for the Titans. And one thing the Rajasthan Royals didn't kind of have going for them was that if you're looking at kind of the players apart from Josh Butler, half the time the others don't manage to stay for 20 balls, and that's exactly what happened today. I mean, apart from Josh Butler, the others didn't stay for close to 20 balls. I mean, I think the 16 balls was the most deliveries faced after Josh Butler's 35 deliveries, and that played into the Gujarat Titans' hands along with some great bowling. And on this kind of a surface, with the likes of Rashid Khan and Sai Kishore at the end as well, and probably the best middle overs enforcer in white ball cricket, you could say, especially in T20s, Hardik Pandya has shown, I think, in this tournament, whenever he has bowled, he's been quite good. And yeah, really well done to the Gujarat Titans. And I think on this kind of a slow surface with their bowling attack, they, I think one thing, the fact that the Rajasthan Royals batsmen, apart from Butler, half the time they don't get to 20 balls, it did play into the Titans' hands on this occasion on a slow surface. And also some excellent bowling. So a deserved win for the Gujarat Titans. And getting into the season for the bowlers, Mohammad Shami has been excellent. 20 wickets in this season. And considering, look, he does go for runs usually, but this season he's gone at an overall economy rate of 8 and over. So I think personally for him, a bowler who is expensive in white ball cricket, I think that that should be a really good milestone for him, I think. And also, he hasn't really had too many off games this season. So he's probably had more off games at the back end than he has at the start. But to have an overall economy rate as 8 and over, at 8 and over, when you have given runs in this format in the past, I think is a great improvement from Mohammad Shami, while taking 20 wickets as well. So he's been that incisive threat with a new ball. Mostly bowled 3 overs in the power play and 1 at the death, the way that I think that he should be used. And also Sai Kishore, Rashid Khan first. Rashid Khan, 19 wickets in 16 games and an economy of 6.59. Once again, he's been great this season. And also, the one time that he had to captain the side, he had 40 of 21 balls. Also captained the side really well and had good figures when he bowled in that game as well. So I think that even if Rashid Khan was the captain throughout the season, I don't think the team would have been in any kind of strife whatsoever. The moment they kind of found their mojo from the start of the season and they really rode that wave of belief and the performances that they put out, then I think even if Rashid Khan was the captain, the way that they won that game against CSK was just so inspirational. And yeah, I think that they just really had things going for them this season, and the credit's pretty much really down to them, because in these kind of games where it's taking a miracle to win the game, you still need players to put out performances. And like CSK did in 2018, especially at the start, and throughout the season, really, I think it was that kind of a season for GT this year where they found those players to stand up for them. And in the end, rightfully so, they've won this competition. So really well done from them, from him and Shami. And also, look, Saiki Shota, I even said this before, or I may or may not have said this before. I don't know why CSK didn't give him a go. I understand. Look, the thing is, they don't play a frontline spinner, and I understand that's the reason why they didn't bid for Arashwa in the auction. But in the end, they've bought an overseas spinner in Theekshana. Yes, not like a conventional spinner. He mostly bowls with a new ball in the power play. But they don't play frontline spinners, but this season they have played him. And if you're seeing how Saiki Shota has gone this season, you'd much rather play an kind of a local spinner than an overseas spinner to free up other overseas slots. And I think if it's someone like a Hasaranga who's been brilliant this season, or a Rashid Khan, or Sunil Narayan, in those cases, then okay, you would play an overseas spinner. But honestly, I just think for CSK, playing an overseas spinner in this case kind of wasted a slot for them. Yes, Theekshana was good at times, but for example, against Mumbai, when they relied on the seamers to bowl with the new ball, the moment you're not bowling Theekshana with the new ball, they kind of had to just fit him in, and I think he did give a few runs in that game. So just something on that. I don't know why CSK didn't play Saiki Shota, and I'm not surprised he has succeeded this season in the games that he's played. Hadik Pandya introduced him towards the end of this season. The wickets are falling as well, and he has been economical in the TNPL. He mostly is kind of an economical bowler, and 6 wickets at 7.56 I think has been really good. And one thing the Gujarat Titans weren't getting was, apart from Rashid Khan, they didn't get those contributions from Tewatia with the ball, because whenever he was bowling, he was giving a lot of runs. So that's why he was used very sparingly this season. And towards the end of the season, they found room to play the extra spinner, and it worked really well for them. And I think they were playing Abhinav Manohar as kind of a non-bowling batsman at number 7 before, and he batted up the order, I think, a couple of times before he was taken out of the side. They've played the extra bowler pretty much ever since Hardik Pandya's brief absence from the side, and that's the reason why I think with how they fared during that time, I think that's the reason why they wanted to go in with the extra bowler as well. They went with the extra spinner, and it really has worked well for them. So yeah, really good from him as well. And I'm actually really surprised as to how Ozari Joseph fared when kind of in the few games he played. He played 9 games and 7 wickets at a coin rate of 8.8. But even then, he was hit around in 1 or 2 games, I think. And so considering that, going at 8.8 isn't such a bad thing. And he bowled at 150 quite a few times as well. I was really surprised. In fact, I actually said after the CSK game, I said that he bowls at a similar pace to Hardik Pandya. I did not expect him to bowl 150, but he did. So another kind of a good contribution from him as well. And they've got good contributions from most of the players that they have signed this season. Yash Dayal's been expensive, but 11 wickets in 9 games. He's bowled better than what it looks like he has, and I do admit he has conceded quite a few runs this season. In fact, I think against Josh Butler, he's gone up 59 runs for 21 balls that he's bowled to him. At a strike rate, he strikes at 280 against Yash Dayal. So he has given runs, but it is his first season. I'm sure he will learn, and especially when he's in bowling at that length, he bowls in the low 140s as well. So I think he has been decent at times this season. And overall, GT have rode the wave to really, combined with performance as well, because you need performance to create that momentum, and they've rightfully won the competition. So really well done to them. And a bit on Hardik Pandya. Look, I mean, before this tournament started, I mean, I did think he would have a good season with the bat, and unsurprisingly, he has. But I didn't expect his captaincy to be this good, and I also didn't expect him to be bowling this much. I mean, I thought that especially after the brief absence took place, I think for 2 games or so, and also when he was back in the side, he didn't bowl. I thought that this was going to be a very precarious dealing, considering that if he has to play in the Indian side at number 6, you'd probably want him to bowl some overs. And in the end, he hasn't been bowling too much, but today he bowled 4 overs, 3 for 17, and he dismissed Joss Buttler, Sanju Samson, and Shimron Hetmai, the best performing players you could say in the Rajasthan Royals batting lineup, and also scored a vital 30 odd in a match-winning partnership with Shubman Gill. So right now he does walk into the side, and I think in all 3 facets of the game, in his game, I think with his batting, his bowling, and his captaincy, this has been a statement season from Hadik Pandya. And after not playing cricket for some months, to lead a side that were underdogs going into the season, to lead a side that were underdogs, to only lose 4 games in a season, and at that too have great stats to yourself, I think is brilliant. As I've said just recently in this video, I think he may be the best middle overs enforcer with a ball and white ball cricket as of now. And again, the problem is, so far when he has been bowling, there's always been a thought in your mind when he hits 140 on consecutive deliveries to say, I hope his body can take his bowling, and I really hope it can, because pretend if he's not part of I don't think he'll be part of the 5 bowlers in the Indian side, but that's the luxury that they would have, that as a 6th bowler you've got someone who may be the best middle overs enforcer in white ball cricket, the way he just hits a length. And something I've really enjoyed about his bowling is that he also, especially on the slow surfaces, the way he kind of just chokes the ball as well, while bowling at that same length, I think that it really makes him a hard proposition to get away. And today you saw the case where once again he just bowls at that length. He's so consistent, and 3 for 17, just getting 3 vital wickets, the most influential batsman in the Rajasthan Royals side. And yeah, I think he was really good today. So a statement season from Hadik Pandya all around. And Wriddhiman Saha as well. Look, I mean, I didn't mention him all this time until now, but 317 runs in 11 games. Well, he only played 11 games out of the 16, so had he got an extra 5 games to show what he could do, then he would have been on course to get a 400-run season. And look, I mean, on Wriddhiman Saha, and this is probably what I'm actually going to get to something which I would like to see from the coming seasons from this squad. But for Wriddhiman Saha, it's kind of a 40-60 split. So 60% of the time we've seen that he doesn't really do much. He's kind of a player that plays well in clusters. I mean, this is someone who's regarded as a very good pinch hitter when he's playing well, but at the same time, we've seen him, especially when he bats at number 3, for example, for SRH, he batted at number 3 a few times, and he scores kind of 30 off 30. And that's the reason why he's kind of a player where when he's on form, he plays well quite consistently and plays quite statement innings as well. And I think that despite the fact that 60% of the time, as I said, in that cluster, you're probably not going to get too much out of him as a batsman. In that 40%, he just shows why he's just a very good player to have on your side when he's on song. The best keeper in the world by miles, and the way that he's been a pinch hitter in this side, he really has been very good this season. And had he played more games, then he would have been on course for a 400-run season. And I think you may even consider this a blessing in disguise that Jason Roy wasn't available for them this season, because in the end, you'd think, look, Wriddhiman Saha can bat in the top 3, but he mostly thrives opening the batting. Had Jason Roy batted up top, yes, he would have given that explosive start, but I think Saha would have had to bat at number 3, which he wouldn't be maximizing his good form in that on that occasion. And you could say, right, Matthew Wade hasn't done too much this season, but he's much more suited to batting at number 3 to still continue, let's say, a quick start if the openers give them that, than Saha would be. And yeah, that's the reason why I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise to have Saha bat in the position that he'd kind of be most suited to in this format. And another thing that, look, on the whole consistency topic, something I'd like to see the next season is that how would they do when... Yes, of course, there'll still be this hype factor that they won the tournament the season before, but how would they do when these players kind of, or a lot of these players perform to how they have been doing in the previous season? What I mean by this, though, David Miller has hardly had any success in the last 7 seasons in the IPL before this one. Matthew Wade, he looked okay in the last few games, but in terms of overall contributions, he hasn't really done too much. Wriddhiman Saha, as I said, a 40-60 split. If he turns up in kind of in the 60 split, how would that go? And Rahul Tewati as well. He's been quite good in terms of finishing the innings this season. But one kind of thought that I had from before was that before this he probably had one good game in 2 seasons, and you kind of thought, how would he go if you combine him with the other players in the side? So that's 4 players who you aren't sure what they're going to do next season. So would there be an extra burden on Hardik Pandya and Shubman Gill? And also, if Jason Roy does play the IPL next season, then how will that work? Because if Saha bats at number 3, as I said, you're not maximizing him either. And even worse, so if he's kind of in the 60% cluster, it lasts a lot of games, as I said. He plays well in clusters, and also doesn't really do much in clusters as well. So I think that is something in the batting that I think GT would want the players to continue their good form outside this tournament, so that if David Miller plays this way next season and even in the seasons to come, then I think that will fix a lot of their prospective problems. I think if these players play kind of even to a good level of consistency in the coming seasons, then it'll be very good for Gujarat Titans, and I think they'll be able to have many good seasons. But I would be interested to see that in the next few seasons, would their batting lineup be able to produce as consistently as they have been? With their bowling side, look, we all knew from the auction that there'd be a very good bowling side, and unsurprisingly they have done. It's just about their batsmen backing up their bowlers. They did that this season, and I think David Miller is their player of the season in my view. Let's hope that this lineup can gel together in the next few seasons, and I wish them the best of luck. And a great season for them this year, winning the IPL in their first time being incepted, and kind of deserved winners of this competition this year. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Please share it with your friends, and remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?